Okay, good evening and welcome to the Monday, March 15th, 2021 meeting of the East Lampeder Township Board of Supervisors. My name is Corey Meyer and I'll call the meeting to order. I'll have Tara play an announcement.
Hello, welcome to the now informed the meeting due to 19 government or limiting indoor gatherings and attendance meeting being limited to a maximum of 25 people will be observing this. Additionally, the Secretary of Health and face covering all participants in the public room to wear covering unless fit in exception. Speaking out, then participants may remove their favoring. Therefore, this meeting is also on virtually using Zoom class platform for video conferencing. The application is free. General public, therefore, meeting by connection through the internet or calling phone. Able to observe them on the to the town expecting to utilize vehicle all public means during COVID-19. Right. Continue township website calendar any related to these public meetings. These meetings will all available township site. The town also recording the meeting for view township site. It will be live streaming and takes and both unavailability of streams and meetings in the computer act live then recorded meeting is and not video is heard, read or published without permission. It is just all wish or votes will be taken in submission of public ownership provide the name and address order comment into please remind this meeting video audio and post ships you will now lead with identify all as in the those and then those joining Zoom can be heard.
Okay, meeting is called to order. I'll confirm attendance in the room. I'm just confirming, actually, I'm going to call Mark Stanley. Can you hear us okay? Just give us a thumbs up if you can.
The pre-recorded message, you could only hear about every fourth or fifth word.
Okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, in the room we have Supervisor Dave Buckwalter, Vice Chairman John Blowers, Supervisor Ethan Demi, and I'm confirming that Supervisor Glenn Everly is not on. Correct.
I do not have it.
So we will do motions all in favor. Should be good. Okay, great. Please join me for the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Next on the agenda, we have public comment for non-agenda items only. Is there anyone here for public comment for non-agenda items? We have Officer Auerbach's son. No comments? Okay. Any comments from the public via email?
I have none.
Okay. Any on the Zoom? Okay. We'll move on to the consent agenda. We have a few items. First, we have approval of the minutes of the Monday, March 1st, 2021 regular meeting. That's 4A. We have 4B, approval to pay invoices from all funds. It's a total of $745,923.66. There's a few items I want to note. $45,432.50 to Susquehanna Municipal Trust for quarterly workers' compensation program. $62,500 to quarterly contributions for 4 volunteer fire companies. That's $15,625 for each fire company. $87,994 to Rivers Truck Center Incorporated for a public works dump truck chassis to replace a 1997 GMC, 24 years old. $24,994.50 to Stevenson Equipment Incorporated for new road crack sealer equipment. Those are the bills. Next, we have 4C, request for release of financial security. It's the High Associates 1861 William Penn Way, and that is a full release down to $0. So $20,675 is the recommended release. We have Sheets Greenfield Road, request for release of financial security. That also is a full release down from $2,087.25 down to $0. Third, we have Campus Shop 1625 Old Philadelphia Pike. This also is full reduction to $0 from $12,390. Lastly, we have Mellinger Mennonite Church at 1916 Lincoln Highway East, and that also leaves remaining balance of $0 down from $118,245.11. Those are my items for the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
Make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Okay. Second. Motion made by John, second by Ethan. Any other comments from the board? Okay. Any comments from the public? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, this is our favorite time, Officer of the Year presentation. Mr. Jarrett, right? Oh, Chief Zerby first.
Thank you, gentlemen, for the time to recognize one of our officers this evening. I'd like to call the president of Leola Lions Club up, Mr. Jarrett Folditz, if you would want to come up, and the recipient of this year's, or sorry, of the 2020 Officer of the Year Award, Officer Tyler Auerbach.
So it's my honor to represent Fairfield Leola Lions Lake Talk Lions Club and give the 2020 Officer of the Year, Tyler Auerbach, this award. Officer Auerbach has been voted by his peers as the 2020 East Lampeter Township Officer of the Year. Officer Auerbach is a 2-year veteran of the police department. He attended Bishop McDevitt High School in Harrisburg Area Community College, and Penn State University. Officer Auerbach came to East Lampeter Township in 2019 after serving with the Harrisburg City Police Department for 2 years. East Lampeter officers first working with Officer Auerbach immediately noticed his attentiveness to job surroundings and safety situations. On September 18th, 2019, Officer Auerbach received a letter of commendation for his identification and arrest of known drug dealer and removed over 1 pound of methamphetamine from the street. Over the course of 2 years, Officer Auerbach has deployed his sworn duties faithfully, fairly, and without prejudice in service to the residents of East Lampeter Township. His work ethic had been noticed and commended by his peers as well as administrative staff. Congratulations.
With me tonight is my wife, Jessica, Grace, and my fat cat. So I'm very glad we got to be here tonight.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations. You got a blue beard now.
Congrats.
Congratulations.
Gentlemen, if I could just have a couple minutes of your time to go over the police department's annual report for the year 2020. I understand that you each have a copy in front of you. I have just a list of some highlights that I'd like to point out again. If you have any questions along the way, please feel free to ask. East Lampeter Township responded to 19,847 calls for service in 2020. That's down 4% from the previous year. Of those calls, over 16,000 were in East Lampeter Township with the balance in Upper Laycock. In over 7,400 reports in Lampeter and over 2,000 reports in Upper Laycock. We had 620 arrests in 2020. That number is also down 20%. And I think you'll find that there's quite a few of these numbers that'll be lower than past years. And I would venture to say that COVID played a lot to do with that. Citations, we wrote over 2,030 citations. And of those, over 1,600 were in East Lampeter Township. Along with that, we had 1,604 warnings with over 1,200 of those in East Lampeter Township. For the first in many years that I can recall, we have less than 1,000 vehicle accidents, 961 for the year, and over 700 of those were in East Lampeter Township. We did have 2 fatal accidents, one in East Lampeter, one in Upper Laycock. And of the 961, 349 of those were reportable, so involving injury or towing. The top 3 locations for accidents, the number 1 street is Lincoln Highway with 310 of those accidents. The highest number block, the 2100 block with 38 of those accidents. And the largest intersection is Lincoln Highway and Oakview Road with 32 of those accidents. As you're aware, our department participates in the Lancaster County accident investigation team. There were 7 call-outs for the team in 2020, and 2 of those call-outs were in East Lampeter Township. We had 100 DUIs for 2020, and 87 of those were in East Lampeter Township. And we had 19 pursuits, and 16 of those were in East Lampeter Township. Crime statistics, we had 4 homicides. Now, we had 4, but 2 of them were involving 1 incident, but still 4 people deceased. 1 of those in East Lampeter Township, the remainder were Upper Laycock. We had 11 robberies, 9 of which were in East Lampeter. And both of those numbers, homicides and robberies, are both up, as well as assaults. But burglaries were down. We had 24, down from 33 the year before. And of the 24, 16 were in East Lampeter Township. Assaults were up with 180, up from, I'm sorry, I don't know what they're up from, but 140. Our drug consumption and overdose rates continue to plague us. We had 41 overdose calls in 2020. 6 of those resulted in death. Of the 6, 3 had naloxone use and 3 did not. So upon the officer arriving, there was 3 obvious ones that they thought they were beyond help. 18 of those 41 were with naloxone administered, and of those 18, 7 of them were administered by our officers, and 8 were administered by other persons, whether they be EMS staff or somebody else that was on the scene that had naloxone with them. And looking at our annual curfew, we had 3 incidents, that's down from the previous year, involving 10 juveniles. We've had no complaints and no issues with our ordinance enforcement. And I would recommend that we continue to keep our juvenile ordinance curfew in place. Sick time, we had 2,345 hours of uniform sick time and 162 hours of non-uniform. Of that total number, 241 were family sick time, 205 were bereavement, 142 hours of workers' comp time, and 80 paternity hours. We also had 290 hours of light duty. Overtime last year was down 20% from the year before at 228,000. The largest figure was in our maintaining 4 people out on the road at $76,000. Fleet mileage, we put 250,000 miles on our cars last year. Alarms, we ran 654 alarms. That's down almost 200. Locations are Springs, Armored, Texas Roadhouse, and Wells Fargo Bank, Lincoln Highway. The busiest month for us was June. Our least busiest month was April. And citizen complaints last year were up. We had 1 in 2019. We had 8 last year. Of those 8, 6 of them were for officer conduct. And of those 6, 4 were unfounded, meaning they either did not occur or there was no evidence to support the complaint. 2 were exonerated, meaning that the incident occurred, but the officer was clear of doing. We had 2 use of force complaints as part of that 8 total. And in both instances, the officers were both exonerated. The next thing I'd like to go over, we had talked about 6 months ago with use of force statistics. And I would like to round out the year with these numbers at this point. We had 22 use of force reports, and that is down from the previous year. Of those 22, 15 were control and restraint. 5 of them were uses of taser, which means 10 of them were just uses of hands and feet. Of the 5 taser uses, we had 2 individuals that were fleeing and another 2 individuals who were fighting with officers. And we also had 2 instances where officers pointed a firearm, and both of those were at the conclusion of vehicle pursuits. There's 3 of the 22 use of force reports occurred at mental health calls, all of which resulted in involuntary 302 committals. There have been 192 mental health calls in 2020, which means 98% of our mental health calls did not require any use of force. Breaking use of force down specifically to the officer level, we had 3 officers with 3 use of force reports. We had 3 officers with 2 use of force reports. In every instance, each use of force was reviewed by the shift supervisor, the division lieutenant, and myself. All instances have been deemed justified, and only that amount of force was used to effect an arrest or quell the situation. 2 of the 22 incidents resulted in a complaint filed against the officer. I mentioned those earlier. In both these complaints, the officers were exonerated of any wrongdoing or excessive force through internal investigation. That's everything I have on my review.
Yeah, I'm looking at this last slide. Thank you, number
Sure.
1. I'm looking at the second to last slide that shows the list of all police agencies, 43 agencies, and we are number 3 for number of incidents, dispatches, essentially.
That's correct. We've been standing at number 3 for several years, and I would say we are firmly planted at number 3.
Yeah.
We're not going to take over the number 2 spot, and
Right.
it's going to take something pretty special for the number 4 people to come and take
Yeah.
over a number 3 spot. So
It amazes me, not to take the limelight off you guys, but I saw similar stat. Lafayette Fire Company shared their stats on how many calls they get compared to the rest of the county. Frankly, the rest of the, even in East Lampeter, but it's unbelievable how busy this area is for emergency services. Lenza shared data as well, just how busy East Lampeter is. I mean, we are blessed in that we have urban to rural and everything in between. And plus, the tourism and, like you said, Lincoln Highway East just being a very popular area for accidents and other activities. What can we do for you?
Well, I think two of the bigger things on the agenda, one that I believe HUD mentioned to you most recently was the issue we faced with finding news out about our firearms. So, with your blessing, we would like to move forward with a switch in that area, just to put that safety element that for me was up in the air and putting that to rest, and they don't have to worry about it. And the other large item that we're still waiting on a grant for are body cameras. I want to see these through. I'm hopeful. We're one of 5 agencies on this grant. And what the holdup is the grant won't allow us to reimburse ourselves. So if we have to wait till we're awarded the grant money before we can spend it on our body cameras. So we're in a holding pattern. When we get that amount of money, be looking to use it along with some other Fund 4 money to put that program into place. You kind of caught me off guard with this, actually, Gordon.
Well, I mean, I think the one thing that we've had discussions about personally is just about drug task force and making sure that we have a well-funded, county supported drug task force for the community. Based on and one of the reasons why I said, look, we're number 3 on this list. We have all similar problems that Lancaster City has, Manhattan Township has, and I think a well-funded countywide drug task force would help. The bad guys don't understand municipal lines. I mean, my good neighbors don't understand municipal lines, right? So,
right.
We need a countywide look at those types of issues.
We do. We have 3 problems really that aren't going away quickly enough, and that's our drugs, our prostitution, and our mental health calls.
Yep.
In fact, you'd be interested to know that I just had a conversation today with another police chief, and the company that brings us a second chance program for individuals who want to clean themselves up with drug abuse has offered to start a very similar program for mental health calls.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know what the end result will look like.
Right.
But I'm just happy that there's a company out there who's willing to do something, because we really don't have anything. We're always caught in the pointy end of the stick, and we just have repeated go-arounds with people that need some help. They're envisioning something where we get a call out and we can call them and somebody will come out to the scene and, at least if nothing else, talk to this person and see what else they can offer them. Beyond that, I don't know what else will come up out of this program, but I'm anxious to see it get off the ground. So
Good. Questions from the board?
Chief,
Go ahead.
There was some opportunity to assist the city in some incidents this year. Has that was significantly more than previous years, I assume? Is that correct?
it was.
And if so, how did that impact these numbers that you reported on incidences and uses of force and that type of thing?
Well, we had no officers injured from those call outs in the city, but we did sustain some property damage. We had 1 car for sure, and we might have had 2 cars that got damaged. But that was I think the biggest effect on us, aside from just juggling personnel. But I will say, the officers were 100% all in. So if they were needed, we had conversations about this, when and if it comes to our area. It's probably not coming into East Lampeter, but it's probably coming into the city. And, I can't speak highly enough for these guys. When the call for help went, coming in to backfill, people running in there to get the job done and do what needed to be done. But aside from the property damage to our cars, we didn't experience a whole lot of impact. There was some overtime, obviously.
Sure.
But those 2 areas.
Good. Yeah. Good. Yeah. I thank you for your leadership. Thank you for, I mean, look, these guys and gals are out there. some of the toughest times with, like you said, mental health issues, plus every other call that they get. And, I know as a board, we appreciate the police force so much.
Thank
So,
you.
Let me just,
Sure.
if I can, thank you, Corey, appreciate it. So, Chief, I do appreciate the use of force tracking and that reporting. Thank you. I think it's important that we keep that out there in front of the public, that we are aware of that, we track it, we train on it, and we report on it. So
Correct.
thank you for doing that.
Sure.
Body cam training, is there, or are you preparing for the body cams? Is there a need to prepare for the body cams? Are the officers fully prepared to be able to have that kind of up close, intimate public scrutiny? Just looking to.
Good
what is the
question.
preparation?
So there will need to be training and preparation. That isn't done yet. And it can't be done until we actually have cameras in hand. So once the transaction takes place and we have cameras that we can actually put on people, we'll go through a training phase with everybody in the department, and they'll all know everything inside and out and upside down. But more importantly, to your question about, are guys ready to have all their actions and the product of their actions be on camera? My 2 cents on that is everybody we've hired in the past 5 years, maybe a little more than that, yeah, they're all ready for it. I think that they've grown up with this. They've seen this. It's, part of normal for them. You talk about somebody like me, and my tenure on the job, or guys that maybe have been there, 20 years, they're the people, in my opinion, that are going to have the learning curve on this. I had a conversation with an officer not too long ago about language and the perception of language, and how when we're using foul language, it's always going to be put into the camp of aggression, and you're going to come off the wrong way. Whereas if you're making demands of somebody and you're saying, sir and ma'am, please, and this, they're going to see, well, he's the nicest guy under the sun. He's saying sir and ma'am and please, and he's doing everything he could, and the person just wouldn't cooperate. I said, but that's viewed completely differently, but your end result will be the same. So learning about being on camera all the time, I think, will be a harder transition for some people that have been here longer than those that are younger. But I believe they're all ready for it.
I'm glad to hear you're cognizant of it, Steve. It's right there.
Yes.
It is a reality that the transparency, I think, is welcome. But how many of us, get caught watching something on TV or the nightly news or something, and the more that it gets dug into and investigated, we realize our perception really changes when we start to get to the details, the things that are behind it. And I just, I look at the body cams as a great opportunity for transparency in local government and law enforcement. I get that. I think there's always that question of, let's make sure that we're prepared as professionals to handle that tool in a way that, to their best of ability, can't be misconstrued for something. And I think your example of language is spot on. Spot on.
Yeah, the policy is another area where I just got done saying to a coworker today, I feel like I've been working on policy more than my predecessor did. And I don't know if that's true or not. It's just my perception, but policy is something that we have to keep on the cutting edge of, and then, that we have to drill into people. And to your point, a new policy for us in the past year, it was one that does not allow an officer to stand idly by and let something transpire that they know to be wrong without taking action. If they don't take action, then there will be a disciplinary reaction. And this is something that's, different police departments have had it for a couple of years. Others maybe don't have it yet, but these are things, are transitions in society and things that we need to do to be on the right side of what we do. So.
Managing in the midst of change. Steve.
Yes. Yeah.
And change management for the number of us in business, it is a reality of what we deal with. So I appreciate you seeing that. Two more things, Corey, if I can.
Yeah, sure, please go.
The DTF funding, I'm just going to read what Corey said. I think it is extremely important that our municipality is communicating back to the county commissioners and or our neighboring municipalities. We all have to be in. It's got to be 60 municipalities in, and the county, this crosses over every border imaginable. And we just have got to send the message. Everyone's got to be in. It's the 21st century. We can't have the drug task force be seen as something that, certain municipalities kind of volunteer their efforts to, and we all decide we're going to try to test this thing. We are way past that. It now needs to happen from a larger level. So thank you for your understanding and support of that. Preparedness for the increase in visitor traffic. Some of those numbers, COVID impact.
Yeah.
Visitor this past weekend had several employees who were talking about going over to Sight and Sound. And they said, it was, 2/3 of the seats were full, 1,400 people. And just recognizing that, yep, buses are going to start to come back. The folks are going to come starting to stay in hotels, and just recognizing that that's coming.
Yes, I agree 100% that this year is going to be significantly different than last year. Will it be the same as the year before? I don't know. We'll see, but we'll be ready for it. This is something that we discuss at our staff meetings, preparedness for doing what we've done in the past that maybe slowed down a little bit last year, that we need to turn the gas back on certain things. So traffic management, traffic enforcement, being ready for those type of things. Definitely.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other questions for Chief Zerby? Nope. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks. Thank you, Captain Shanks. I didn't see you back there. Good to see you.
Hi.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have 8A, High Associate Saldo Plan 2015, 1740, 1770 Hempstead Road. I'm assuming Mark is here for that item? No? Yeah, okay. Mark, you want to take it?
Sure. With me tonight is Ken Hornbeck from High Properties and Dave Bittner from RGS Associates. We actually have two matters before the board tonight on the agenda, both 8A and 8B. Initially, I'd like Ken to give the board a little background with respect to the property, the project, and our timeline. And then Dave Bittner from RGS will briefly review the plan. We're in receipt of Dave Miller's letter of November 18th. We don't have any comments or concerns regarding that letter. There are a number of waivers and deferrals, and each one of them has been recommended for approval by both Dave Miller and the Planning Commission. We can review those. Dave can walk the board through, or we can just answer any questions that the board may have at your discretion. So with that sort of as a background of what's going to happen and who's going to do what to whom, I'll sort of turn it over to Ken, and then Ken can turn it over to Dave.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Mark. Good evening, everybody. Just real briefly, as a reminder, this is what we've referred to in the past as the Armstrong Flooring Project along Hempstead Road. Two separate buildings being repositioned as sort of one project, although we did break it into two different phases, if you will. So we're here tonight for what is a land development phase for 1770 Hempstead Road. But again, part of the combined Armstrong Flooring repositioning of two existing buildings. So with that, I'll turn it over to Dave Bittner.
Yep. Good evening. If Tara or Ralph, am I able to share my screen?
You are.
All right. So let me know when you guys can see that.
You can see it.
Okay. So just a real quick overview to kind of expand on what Ken was talking about. This project down here, this is 1740 Hempstead Road. That was a stormwater management plan that was previously approved. This project is specifically related to 1770 Hempstead Road, which is the building 227. So there's an existing building there now that is getting renovated. And then we have some improvements around the building with some sidewalk going back into the building. The parking lot right now is somewhere around where these tree lines are here. So that's getting expanded out to the northeast, I guess it is, to enlarge the parking space, enlarge the parking lot to allow for the allocation that's needed by Armstrong. And then to manage stormwater, we have a stormwater facility that we're proposing in the back here that ultimately will come down and discharge into an underground facility that was designed as part of 1740, and then ultimately to a existing stormwater facility on that lot as well. So that's just a brief overview of what we're doing. As Mark said, we're in receipt of David Miller's letter. We don't have any issues with the remaining comments. And again, as Mark mentioned, we do have several waivers, modifications, and deferrals. I'd be happy to walk through each one of those, or if you just have any questions on any specific ones, we can answer those as well.
I would suggest trying to keep it to questions, if that's okay with the board. If there's any, why don't we just give us, I've reviewed the documents. I'll give the board just a few minutes just to, if you have any questions, time to ask it, and then we can keep moving. Ethan, any questions? I'm looking at you first for the heck of it. Okay. Okay. Dave or John?
None.
I have none.
Nope.
Okay.
And I just want to make one note on the modification letter. There was a mistake in one of the sections that was on DMA's letter as well. The deferral for the existing roadway improvement, section 502A11, that should actually be section 503A11.
Okay. That number 5, it says 502A11.
Is that on DMA's letter?
Yeah,
looking
DMA's
on-
letter.
Yeah, yes, that's correct.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, gentlemen, is there any other questions or comments before a motion? Staff, any additional comments?
No, I don't have any additional comments. Would just recommend that you try to include all of the waivers and modification motion.
Got it. Do you have a microphone by the way, or no? How did you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you have it right there. It was
Blinded by the tide.
Blinded by the tide.
By the tide.
Okay, sorry. Thank you, Hutch. Okay. Someone want to try the motion?
Yeah, let me try this if I can. So I'll make a motion that we approve the preliminary and final subdivision and land development plan, 1770 Hempstead Road, per the November 8th DMA letter. With the several waivers and modifications listed. So there are 8 of those. And overview pertinent to that. So DMA letter November 18th. County. Yeah. That. Sure. Yeah. Okay. Just want to make sure I'm pulling this in. So
Yeah,
I'll make a motion that we approve the waiver of preliminary plan scale, stormwater runoff transfer between watersheds, and maximum required parking spaces and modification of requirements for maximum loading ratio for volume control, curbing requirements with a deferral agreement recorded with the land development plan. Further, that the Board of Supervisors approves the land development plan subject to the September 29th, 2020 review comments from LCPC, the November 18th, 2020 review letter from DMA from David Miller, and an amendment to the developer's agreement that was required with the approval of the Greenfield North project in that 1740 and 1770 Hempstead Road properties were part of a larger Lot 1 in regards to required traffic improvements at the Hempstead and Greenfield intersection. And then finally, to approve a 6-month time extension to record the plans. And that 6-month time extension is from what date? Ralph, Corey, Tara,
It would be from your action tonight.
from March 15th. Okay, all right. And that 6-month includes the 90-day.
It would.
Okay, incorporates it into, okay, all right.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion made and second. Just want to make one comment. I know there was a comment made by Dave Bittner about the Saldo section error, the 503.A.11, number 5. Assuming that's okay to be added to the motion.
Fine by me.
So motion was made and second. Before I go any further, staff would like to say something. Sure.
There was one other modification that was requested related to curbing in the parking lot being waived or modified to using wheel stops instead of curbing in the parking lot.
We accept
So
the,
let's pull that into and
Yeah,
amend
okay.
the motion then,
we'll accept the amendment to add the curb stops.
in place of
Curbing.
Curving. Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine.
Okay, motion is made, still second?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we're good? Okay, any other comments from the board? Any comments from the public, including the applicant?
No.
Okay. Any other public comments? No?
No.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Thanks, John.
Well,
Okay, next, back to you guys. Again, who wants to take it? Dave?
Yeah, I mean, I can. So as part of this 1770 plan, there's some reallocation of some of the existing sewer EDUs out there, and there was a need to get, I think it was 5 additional EDUs for 1740 Hempstead Road, which is the previous stormwater management plan that was done. So we're going through the sewer planning module process right now, just looking for action by on the resolution by the Board of Supervisors to move that forward and to submit to DEP.
So EP, we have a resolution for sewer planning module for 1740 Hempstead Road. Okay. I'll move for approval. Okay. Thank you. Second by John. Board on that. Okay, comments from the public or the applicant? Okay. All those in favor for this resolution, AP, signify by saying aye. 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 Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Okay. Next we have 8. Thanks, guys. Unless you're staying for anything else.
thank you
Thank you
all.
for your time. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Good seeing you. Okay, we have 8C. We have Glick Fire Equipment Land Development Plan 2021, 350 Mill Creek Road. Is there anyone here for that item?
Yes, hi, everybody. I'm Mike Huxtell with ELA Group.
Mike, how are you?
Fine,
Mike.
thank you.
You
And
can-
also on the line tonight is Doug Glick, the applicant and property owner.
So, okay. You can share. Oh, do you want to share your screen? Oh,
Yep.
you got it. Cool.
Let's go.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, great. So just to orient everybody to the site, the Glick Fire Company, or Glick Fire Equipment Company, is located along Mill Creek Road on the west side of Mill Creek, before where Mill Creek goes underneath the railroad tracks. The railroad tracks are located to the north of the site, and to the west and the south is a Smoketown Airport. The existing site has a manufacturing building, a storage building, parking spaces for fire trucks, employees, and employee and then visitor parking in the front. I'll show you the existing plan. So the existing parking in the front, some of those will be removed to allow for the building expansion. And what we plan to do is to construct a 2,300 square foot building addition to allow for additional office space, conference room, lavatories, and a reception area at the front door. And with that, we're going to expand the parking area to provide an additional, this is an 18 space parking area, but it'll be an additional 12 spaces because of the spaces that we're removing. And with that, there's going to be a retaining wall, a small decorative retaining wall. It's about 3.5 feet high. For the stormwater, it's going to be underneath the new parking lot. So it's an underground detention system. And it'll have the roof downspouts will be connected to the system by way of piping. And this is the floor plan showing the conference room, lavatories, reception area, and the new offices. So with this plan, we're asking for a few waivers. If there aren't any questions, I'll start discussing the waivers.
Yeah, well, first, great to hear that you're on your township, so that's the first comment. Yeah, Mike, you want to just go through those waivers? That sounds fine.
Okay. So we're asking for a modification of section 303, the preliminary plan. So the plan can be reviewed as a final plan due to the small nature of the improvements, and everything can be reviewed as one final plan. Section 403.B, the scale, the plan scale is supposed to be 50 or 100, and we're asking for a modification of that so we can have a larger plan scale for the readability of the plans. And the next three are modifications of improvements to Mill Creek Road. And we're asking for these modifications to be deferments of these improvements. That would be section 503.G.1, street widening. 504.A, curb. And 505.A, sidewalks along the road. And with the curb modification, we're also asking that we be allowed to not construct curbing along the parking area. This planting island will be curbed, but the edges will not be. And we'll provide concrete wheel stops so vehicles will not back into the grass. But the way the stormwater works is that everything will go down to this corner, get picked up in a swale in the grass area and into the inlet. So we're asking for a modification of that. And then we have a couple stormwater modifications. First one is 307.C.1.A.4, 15-inch pipe size. We're proposing to use a smaller pipe size to pick up the downspouts. They're going to be 6-inch pipes. We don't need a 15-inch pipe to pick those up, so we're asking for a modification of that. And section 370.C.3.H, we're asking for a modification to not provide a structure where the clean outs at all junctions and changes in direction of pipe. So in this instance, we have a curve in the pipe. It's not a T intersection like this area. So we're providing a clean out there where it tees in, but in areas where it just bends, we're proposing to not, we're asking for a modification of providing a structure at that point. And they're all the modifications.
other comments? Questions for the board?
Engineer is recommending denial of the clean out issue, and it seems like a reasonable request to me. I don't know if staff has any concerns about that or not, but
Those are typically where the problems happen.
Yeah.
And, you know, having an easy ability to be able to clean them out and address them is usually helpful.
But if they don't put it in, and they have to clean it out, then they're on the hook to dig it up, correct?
They would be.
I think they got clogged up, right?
Right. I guess there's a potential for, you know, something to overflow somewhere else
Sure.
due to a backup of some sort.
Right.
Right, and we feel if it backs up that there's a clean out in this area, we can get something in there to clean it out.
What's the distance from where you would have access to where it starts angling? Yeah,
That would be about 15 feet.
It's a section in our stormwater management ordinance, and if the four of us, the applicant, come up with a whole pretty quickly. This is something that we're looking at. We're also pretty quickly going, that doesn't seem stated. The applicant making a case for that.
but it looks like it's about a 30-degree bend. I don't know that you identify a degree of,
Right.
if it would be 90,
Yeah.
I'd say no,
Yeah,
guys.
Yeah. Right.
Just my thoughts.
And that's why it's a question about 15 feet. Is it 45 feet and then a bend? You know, 15 feet to me it's reasonable. I mean, look, yes, I get it. It could back up and then impact something else. It's going to impact them. Yeah, right.
It's maybe different.
Or the
if it
airport,
was,
yeah.
Hey, there's 15 feet and a bend and you're in
Neighbor.
a densely populated area with people on both sides of you that
Right.
could impact.
I'm with you. That's where you were as well. John. Okay. Other comments from the board?
Just looking at some notes here. Are there bike racks or provisions for scooters?
No, that was a comment from the county planning.
That came from county?
Yes. And the way this operates, there's really nobody that rides bike or rides a scooter here. But if they did, there's plenty of areas where they could put one. I don't think it's necessary that you have a bike rack. And if you don't have a bike rack, it's not going to stop anybody from driving here on a bike that would want to. But there are areas where you can put a bike if you chose to ride a bicycle or a scooter here.
Suggestion on that one. At my warehouse, once we installed a bike rack, a lot more employees began using and more of the bikes worked once there was that opportunity. So that's just an observation. We had folks who biked prior to having a bike rack, but once you had one, more folks used it. It's just a little psychological thing.
Okay.
Any other comments there?
Chairman, the only thing I haven't heard them discuss is the current limitation on exceeding the parking requirements by 125%. So you might want them to explain why they're proposing that.
Yeah, Mike, just want to talk about the parking?
Yeah, so the parking that's on the site, we have the employee parking in the rear and employee parking in the front. And there's there's going to be 31 employees here, and everybody pretty much drives a car. And then with people visiting the site, if a lot of people come for a meeting, visitors and salesmen, they wanted to provide some additional parking so everybody can find a parking spot that's visiting in the front of the building. With the expense that they're going through to expand the building, do the stormwater, it makes the most sense to get as much parking in there as you can now. And then in the future, if they do add if they add more employees inside this building for manufacturing, they'll be all set for that.
How many spots are there? What's the difference in the 125%? How many spots are we talking about extra?
So it's about 12 extra parking spaces. The requirement is for 16 parking spaces.
Okay, thanks for the explanation. Okay. Any comments, concerns from the board about that? Okay.
Okay, look for a motion. Say one more time, any comments on the property?
Yeah, Mr. Glick, any comments about the project before we get a motion?
I do not. Mike answered the question on the parking. We do have outside salespeople that do come into the office pretty regular, and parking has been a challenge. So we didn't want to, we certainly didn't want to lose spots. So we're adding some extra parking in the grass along the driveway is not ideal.
Okay, got it.
And I do also have a question about subdivision and land development comment number 2. Just to make sure I'm not missing anything. So we have the sidewalk that goes along the front of the building. And at this choke point here, it's 4 feet wide. This total sidewalk is 4 feet 8 inches. And the comment is to make this sidewalk 6 feet wide. In front of the sidewalk, we have a retaining wall. So the sidewalk slopes down at about 3.5%. So it's not quite a ramp, but we have the retaining wall that's going to follow the grade of the sidewalk. And the comment is to provide, actually the ordinance requirement is that sidewalks and walkways along streets and parking compounds shall be located no closer than 2 feet from the edge of the street or parking compound, unless the sidewalk is widened to a minimum of 6 feet. So the comment from the township engineer was that the sidewalk along the building is also to be 6 feet in width. So I'm going to reply that we're providing more than 2 feet, but I just wanted to make sure that that's what the comment was directed at, and that they didn't, that maybe it wasn't clear that there's more than 2 feet between the edge of the sidewalk and the drive lane.
I think that's exactly what the issue was, Mike, but it was not clear what that distance was.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, I'll dimension that and I'll reply with that in the response letter. Great, thank you, Tara.
Absolutely.
Okay, board, looking for a motion.
I can attempt it here. I'll make a motion that we approve the preliminary and final land development plan for Glick Fire Equipment Company, their building expansion. We are basing this upon the David Miller's letter of March 12th. Granting under waivers and modifications, 1, 2, 3, the deferral requests to widening. Number 4, the deferral requests for curbs. Granting the, I guess, under 4, that subsection of curbing alongside all new parking compounds. Number 5, granting the deferral request for sidewalks on both sides of the streets. Number 6, 7, the cleanouts. We're saying that like to grant the cleanouts for all junctions and changes. Number 7. And under subdivision and land development, just clarifying the 2-foot, number 2, the requirement that the sidewalks and walkways be 2 feet from the edge of the street or parking compounds, that is in fact presented here tonight. It's over 2 feet. And that the board is comfortable not requiring the applicant to put in place any kind of bicycle or scooter rack. Obviously, we're certainly interested in having, especially the village growth area there, having connectivity on the requirements or vision, but with our deferrals for some of these infrastructure improvements, some of those things are being addressed at some point. That's, I guess, the motion.
One question, the parking going over 125, 125%.
Point me to it.
I don't actually think it's in.
Number 3 under.
Oh, yeah, there you go,
zoning.
number 3. Okay,
3 under
got it.
zoning. Okay,
Yes.
thank you, Corey.
Yep.
And that included in my motion would be the board's acceptance and support for the applicant's proposed development of additional impervious parking greater than 125% of the minimum required parking spaces. Capture it.
Motion's been made. Everyone understand it?
Yep.
Okay. Second? Second by Ethan. Okay. Any other comments from the board? The applicant have any questions or comments before we vote? Okay. Got a thumbs up. Okay. Any other comments from the public?
No.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes 4-0. Thank you. Thank you. Good luck. And
Great.
like I said earlier, great to see East Lampeter business growing. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, board.
Okay, I lost my agenda. Nope, we got it back. Okay, next on the agenda, we have East Lampeter Township Land Development Plan, 2102, 2250 Old Philadelphia Pike. I think over the years, we have received many questions of the board. Do we follow the same rules, policies, and procedures as any other person building in this township? And the answer is yes, we do. So who's presenting this one?
Steve Gergley will.
Steve Gergley. Okay, Steve. Welcome.
Yeah, so this is a land development plan for some improvements to your campus. The primary improvement is the construction of a police impound lot, a new police impound lot, just behind and just to the north of the existing salt shed, which is the area shown in gray here. It also entails removing some pavement from the existing impound lot because that would become a parking lot, and then covering the recessed dumpster area with a roof structure, which kicks this into the category of a land development plan as opposed to a stormwater management plan. We're using the existing detention basin on the eastern portion of the site. We analyzed that. It had enough capacity for rate control. We're just modifying the orifice structure a little bit to provide for volume control, additionally associated with the additional impervious surface. So pretty straightforward plan as far as that goes. We're asking for a couple of modifications, a modification for preliminary plan, modification for plan scale, a modification for no curbing in the impound lot on the basis that we're providing sheet flow for the stormwater runoff. And the nature of this lot, it's going to be encompassed with an 8-foot-high barbed wire fence. It's not going to be used by the general public. It doesn't have any need for curbing or pedestrian separation. And we're also asking for a modification for you to not post financial security with yourself for the improvements. So with that, we got the letter from David Miller's office. We made a resubmission, I think, the other day. Haven't got a review on that yet, but we have no issues with any of the comments from that letter. And the Planning Commission also recommended approval of the plan and the modifications.
Okay. Thank you, Steve. Any other comments from the applicant?
So we don't have Lancaster County Planning Commission or Planning Department review yet. We're following the MOU process. So we will not have comment from them until we submit the plan and the engineer's review.
Okay. So should we make a motion contingent upon that approve or that letter?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Any other comments from Steve on that? No? Questions from the board?
Make a motion that we approve the preliminary and final subdivision and land development plan for East Lampier Township Municipal Campus improvements with the, as presented in the David Miller Associates letter of March 4th, engineering review it with the caveat that we are
Making contingent.
yeah,
Making contingent based on the Lancaster County planning letter.
contingent upon Lancaster County Planning
Department. I that's what
follow-up letter,
Right.
which is coming. Which is coming. It's on its way.
It will be.
Okay.
Eventually.
All right. That's
Okay.
it.
Great. Okay. Motion's been made.
Second.
John, seconded by Dave. Any other comments from the board? Any comments from the public?
I have no comments.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, 4-0. Okay, thank you. Motion passes. Okay, next on the agenda, we have E, AJ Home Solutions, Saldo Plan 2103, 33 South Eastland Drive. Who is here for that item?
That's me again. So.
Okay, great. Keep going.
So yeah, this is a subdivision plan for 33 South Eastland Drive. It's a little over 1 acre in size. It's on the east side of South Eastland in the R2 residential district. Contains an existing single-family home that's in really poor condition along the northern property line that's slated to be demolished. And what the applicants and the owners are proposing to do is to subdivide it into 3 lots. A duplex unit, 2 units facing Eastland Drive, and then in the back, a flag lot containing a single family dwelling. We did get some relief from the zoning hearing board for reduced lot width at the frontage to 40 feet. That was approved a few months ago. The land development plan shows for access management, we thought it would be best to have 2 driveways on the Southeastern Drive instead of 3. So the northern duplex unit has its own driveway onto the road. And then the southern unit and then the single family unit to the rear would share a driveway for a portion of that along the flagpole. For stormwater management, we're proposing 3 underground stone seepage pits to collect the roof area from the 3 dwellings. And then we're also proposing a small above ground bioretention area for some surface area as well. And then for the driveway, everything through the site drains through the property and through the property to the south. And there's an existing conveyance collection system in Southeastland Drive that heads to the west. Just to prevent, even though we meet rate control and volume control requirements at the property line, just to prevent any additional or perceived runoff from the driveway, we're proposing to have an asphalt curb along the southern edge of the drive to capture any undetained water. And then that would go to a stormwater inlet that we've set just outside of the right of way. Connect that to an additional inlet in Southeastland Drive, which should help with the existing gutter flow rates there. And then that ties into the existing storm sewer system. So relatively straightforward plan. All the stormwater management will be infiltrated and then conveyed into the conveyance system in the road. We're asking for a few modifications with this one as well. We're asking for a modification of preliminary plan for plan scale. We're asking for deferrals of road widening, curbing and sidewalk. That's 3 modifications. We would agree to do the deferral agreement. And then we're also asking for 1 stormwater management waiver, which is for the loading ratios for the infiltration facilities. Again, the Planning Commission recommended approval of this plan. We have a letter from David Miller from February 23rd that we have no issues with. And we also received county planning comments, of which there were really only, they basically acknowledged that it met the intent of their comprehensive plan and that we should just add the LCPC number to the corner of the plan.
Okay, great. A clean letter and a good letter from Lancaster County Planning. Okay. Gentlemen, any questions?
It's here, I'm sure. Say it again, Steve, the stormwater is going to push towards Eastland Drive.
I'm sorry, if that was a question, I couldn't hear it.
Yeah, sorry.
Maybe I'll check. Yeah, I'm on.
Is the stormwater is being pushed towards Eastland Drive to the existing inlets there, correct?
Well, correct. We're setting 2 inlets, 1 outside of the right of way, 1 in the right of way, and then that goes into the existing conveyance system in Eastland Drive.
Yeah, he was saying that that was an additional measure that they decided to use. The other stormwater controls would have adequately dealt with stormwater. They were concerned that there might be a perception going to the south off of the driveway, so they put a curb on the south side to direct it out to Southeastland, and that'll just really eliminate any from going across the property line. So it'll be a lot less than used to go across the property line.
Good, good, good. Okay, okay.
Okay, could we get a motion for?
I was looking for, if I may, another question,
Yeah,
Mr.
sure.
Chairman, regarding the access agreements between
the two.
is that addressed in David Miller's letter, or should that be part of the motion?
I believe that was a comment.
It is addressed. I was just looking over here quickly. I'm sorry.
There's
Correct. It's
subdivision
comment
land
number
development
2
number
under
2.
subdivision land development.
Yep, shared driveway lots.
I see it. I'm sorry. Thanks.
Yep, that's good.
Any other questions? No. Motion?
I'll move that we would approve the subdivision land development plan for 33 Southeastland Drive, contingent upon David Miller's letter dated February 23rd, granting the modifications according to that letter.
I'll second.
Motion was made by Dave, second by John. Any other comments from the board?
Just that I think it's a great example of, infill. It's a great example of, capturing places 2040, division of places 2040. It certainly will probably cause some people who live in the area to maybe a little concerned. They're seeing things happening that are changing perhaps some of their characteristics of their community, but also cleaning up some things that have been continual issues. So, as a board and as staff, to support places 2040, the entire concept of, increasing densities and things. I mean, this is definitely an area that a lot of people who come from outside the area would consider to be part of the metropolitan area, not, the more rural aspects of our township. So I think it's important that we, are looking at both the metropolitan, suburban, and the rural parts, and really, being creative. So it's very creative. I encourage it. It's great to see.
Yeah, I would concur. I know we haven't voted yet, but we received multiple public comments. I'm not sure specific about this property, but from neighbors in this area about, making ensure that, this area is good for all neighbors in that area. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do here as well. So. Okay, we have motion made and second. I asked for public comment, I think. Okay, there is no public comment. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Next.
Thanks.
F, resolution regarding sewer planning module 33 Southeastland Drive. Hutch?
So yeah, this
Yep.
is your typical sewer planning
Yep.
module. They're increasing the number of units on,
Yep.
on the property. We are currently in a situation where DEP is requiring full-blown modules for anything that's an increase going to the city's sewage treatment plant. So that is part of the process.
Okay. Motion for the resolution?
So moved.
Okay, so moved by Dave. Second by Ethan. Any other comments from the board? Any comments from the public or applicants?
None.
What does a full sewer planning module cost an applicant?
Steve? See, the question is, what does a full planning module, sewer planning module cost an applicant?
Well, for public sewer, it's not that bad, maybe like $1,500, $2,000. When you're talking about on-lot sewer, that's a different matter because you have to do a nitrate hydro study with a geologist and all the perk and probe testing and everything. So that's usually like $4,000 or $5,000.
So it could be $1,500 to $2,000.
Yeah, so you're still looking at, $500+ per unit.
And what, I know we've talked about it, I just need a refresher. What is DEP's motivation for this?
I think this all comes out of the consent agreement that the city had to enter into with DEP related to sewage overflows in their system. And so we had just gotten out of the requirement in the north pumping station area once all of the construction was done at the north pumping station to upgrade that to handle the flow that's going into the north pumping station. So we had just, I'm going to say, we might have been out of that for a couple of years at the most. And then, this came in. So that was just in the area that went to the north pumping station. Now it's everywhere that goes to the city treatment plant. So I think it's all related to that consent agreement.
So, the motivation here is, charge these additional funds to be able to get a more thorough understanding of how much is being sent. I don't know, it just seems to me to be.
I think the
bureaucracy.
idea is to because DEP doesn't see any of that money. I mean, it might be great for Steve's business, but DEP doesn't get any of that money. So their motivation is just to sort of pressure the community to upgrade the system so that you can do what we used to do, which was just the standard, anything, I think it was like anything under 100 units was just a letter.
Wow.
So it's like a waiver process. So as you said, the community, motivate the community. We are the community, but we're part of the metro, which involves the city and the city's facility. What is this doing for us? What can we do to motivate the community to do this so that we can say to anybody who's got 3 units like this, you have to spend $500 per?
Yeah, we still have our bi-monthly meetings with all the municipalities and sewer authorities that are tributary to the city's treatment plant. And so we're meeting with them on a regular basis. We're going over all the projects that they're programming. Our sewer authority is financing East Lampeter's share of those projects. And the belief is that once we get all these projects done, the moratorium or this requirement to do modules will be lifted. But it's going to be years.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, motion's made and second. We had public comment. We asked, did I ask?
You
Any
did,
public
and there
comment?
is none. There still is none.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Okay, next 8G, we have Kunkel Stormwater Management Plan, and we have a request from the applicant for time to essentially table the motion so they can have additional time to work on that. Can I get a motion to table? Okay.
Second.
So move, second by John. Any other comments from the board?
Did Dave make the motion?
No.
Or Ethan made the motion.
Ethan
Thank
made
you.
the motion, sorry, second by John. Any comments from the public? Okay, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So he's done. We have 9A, declaration regarding emergency housing program extension. I see Justin Edie is on and Jennifer Koppel. Who would like to go first, or any?
Go ahead. Thanks, Corey.
Sure.
Good evening again. Nice to see everyone again virtually. We're here kind of as an update from our past discussions and board action as far as basically having an emergency declaration to allow us to set up a program within a hotel or hotels that would allow us to house people during this pandemic that otherwise we cannot provide space in a shelter, an existing shelter due to COVID. So we've discussed in the past the issues. The reason for the continuation is last time we spoke, the eviction moratorium was extended until the end of this month. We're unsure where that goes in the next couple of weeks with the new administration. But that is a factor, as well as we just opened up a rent assistance program. We're 1 week into it, and some of the statistics we're seeing is over 700 applications, 224 households, or about 29% have scheduled eviction hearings or notices. And 211 of those applications of the 700 also indicate they've been homeless in the last 5 years. So we want to be prepared for situations as we move forward that are critical to housing. So it's kind of my update, and I'll let Jen kind of discuss a little bit of what's going on.
Hi, thank you for letting us come and speak again before the board. And to Justin's point, the eviction prevention, or I'm sorry, the rental assistance program opened. The eviction moratorium was extended till March 31st. We're not hearing anything from the federal government at this point about that extension being moved on, as Justin had said. So what we continue to still see is there's a population of folks who are, due to COVID, just really better served at settings such as the hotel. And we actually ran a small pilot of this program in the last few months after we had come from the last time. And I just wanted to give you an update on that. There are 15 people in that current pilot project. Of the 15, 11 of them are making really great progress moving forward, and 9 of them will be housed by the middle of April. So that, and I say that because that's, to us, that's a really big deal, because of the folks that are at the hotel right now, most of them have a status, which means that they're not able to go to the existing sheltering system because of a challenge that they've had in the past. And the fact that of those 15, we have 11 moving forward and 9 being housed. Some of the folks being housed have been on the streets 6, 7, 10 years. So that's been a really big positive for us, is to see folks get into the setting, really flourish, really engage with with our case managers and all that. So we're super happy about how that's been going. And like I said, like when you look at historically at our population in the sheltering system, or even our service system, 72% to 75% are typically new to us, which means that we haven't seen them before. And when Justin's talking about the number of applications this the week that the program's been open, the number that have been homeless, like we're really trying to make sure that we capture as many of those folks as we can. And I just keep thinking about, like, when the moratorium is lifted, we're just going to have to really be prepared. So we appreciate the opportunity that we have here to really do some innovative things and really positively affect folks' lives.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you, I appreciate it. Any questions for Jen or Justin? I know we have a the actual declaration to continue the program. Any key points on this, Hutch, that you want to mention?
I would just say it was modeled after the declaration that you adopted in December.
Yep.
We did update it a little bit to reflect the current conditions, and it would indicate that the program would be continued for 3 months. The current declaration ends at the end of this month. It would continue it to the end of June. And, unless it would be rescinded by the board prior to that, or the board could extend it again beyond that at your choice.
Okay. Thanks. Any questions from the board for staff or Justin or Jen? Accept the motion to.
I believe there's public
Oh,
comment.
there's public comment? Okay. I'm happy to take public comment now or after the motion, but if you have a comment, go for it.
Thanks. Yeah, this is Bruce Fry. I'm the general manager of Tanger Outlets. And just wanted to voice, some concerns that we have. We're certainly conscious of and sensitive to the needs of the homeless community, and we applaud the township, what you've done, with this resolution in the past, and certainly applaud the agency's actions for trying to address this issue. However, we are seeing some concerns that we feel need to be addressed. In the past several months, we have seen a dramatic increase in drug activity at our property. This is drug use, drug sales, overdoses at the property, as well as other increases in criminal activity, including thefts, panhandling, et cetera. Employees, I've talked to some other businesses up and down the strip that, weren't aware that this was going to be discussed tonight, or some of them would have joined. But what we're hearing from our stores and from some of the hotels that are not participating is that their employees and their guests are fearful. Some of the other hotel properties are locking their front doors, and you have to show a room key to be able to get in. Guests are asking, both our guests and some other property guests, what's going on. They've definitely seen a difference in the township, in this area. And, our concern is if we look at a 3-month extension, that takes us to the end of June, which is in the middle of the tourism season. And after the 2020 that everybody experienced, the last thing we need is an issue that could possibly further impede our ability to successfully rebound from that. So we just have some concerns of, this being continued into the peak tourism season, and what that could possibly do for business up along the strip, as well as the county as a whole, if people lose their desire to return to Lancaster County into this area.
Thank you, Mr. Fry. Just a question for Justin and Jen. How many people are using this service, are taking advantage of the disaster emergency housing?
Just 15. And let me look at my email. I actually think that 2 of them are going to be housed on Thursday this week. So it'll be down to 13.
Jen or Justin, do you keep track if someone is arrested, or I guess, if any of those 15 have been arrested, or have there been any other complaints?
So, excuse me, Corey, my voice locked up there for a second. For the folks that are in this particular program, the case managers that are working with them, we know all of them very well. And up until today, there hasn't been any issues, arrests, or anything like that. We were very careful with the folks that are there to make sure that the folks that were referred out there were not going to be a challenge or anything for the hotel or the community.
Right, I'm not.
And the
I'm not
outreach,
trying
and
to
I'm
put
sorry,
on-
the outreach workers are with them, the case managers are with them almost every day.
Yeah, Mr. Fry, I'm not trying to downplay, that there is not crime. I'm trying to, correlation, causation. I'm trying to understand, where the problem might be coming from. I'm assuming that the Tanger Outlet folks, the employees, the managers of the stores are calling East Lampeder Police 911 when there are situations going on there. I would assume that's the case.
That's correct. And, I'm not saying 100% of the problem is due to this, but one of our policies is that if someone's arrested for shoplifting or for any other sort of criminal activity on the property, we try and serve a trespass notice on that person to prevent them from coming back again in the future. And in multiple cases, what we've been told, in order for us to issue a trespass notice, our company policy is we have to have a mailing address to send them that notification. And a lot of times when trying to get that from the police report or from wherever, we're told the person does not have a permanent address, that they're homeless. And in several cases, we have been told that they're living in one of the hotels. Now, whether they're part of this program or not, that I don't know. But, to me, to our customers, to the consumer, it doesn't matter if they're part of one program or part of another program. They see it as a possible problem as a whole.
I understand what you're saying. Okay. Yeah. And I appreciate Jen and Justin, your program, and you have case managers and so forth, and your transparency around the participants in the program. And Mr. Fry, I understand your comments that, certain folks that have caused crimes are homeless. And I completely understand. I would suggest, I'm not sure, Mr. Fry, if you were on earlier, Chief Zerbe was here earlier presenting the 2020 plan. I'm wondering if there should be a connection, Mr. Fry, between you and the chief to discuss other potential things, and frankly, other potential options with us as well. We have talked as a board over the years around, we frankly have ordinances on the books already around noise and other nuisances, IPMC, International Property Maintenance Code, and other things, and potentially could look at other ordinances as well to at least give the police, the ability to handle situations in the most appropriate way. If ordinances are not on the books, they can't do much. So, any other comments from the board?
Well, I had a question.
Sure,
There
please.
were the mention of 15, were they individuals or were they family units? I wasn't sure about that.
Oh,
There are
I'm sorry,
15.
they were single
Are there
adults.
15? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I was talking over you because there was a lag. There are 15 single adults, no families
see.
right now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if I can just chime in for a quick second too, the whole program's set up to be in collaboration, but also in communication with the township staff and police department. So along with the hotel staff, so we'll be aware and be able to communicate issues that are arising due to this program. I do want to point out that countywide, we are seeing issues with people using hotels as their permanent residency currently because there's the lack of affordable housing or housing options. And so a lot of people are actually choosing, because either they're evicted or don't have any other opportunity to live in hotels and motels. So that might also be contributing to some of the concern tonight as well.
Yeah, I would suggest if Mr. Fry, maybe we can connect Chief Zerbe with Mr. Fry. I think there's worthwhile conversations we can have. I want to make sure that, my neighbors plus neighbors from all over the country that come to Tanger Outlets feel safe and, enjoy shopping there. That is not my intent to not trust what you're saying. I completely agree. And we know there's issues. So let's work together to help fix those. Any other comments from the board?
Just another comment.
Yeah, please.
The suggestion would be to actually review with the
with the police force the names of the folks who have been called by Tanger outlets and then discuss those with them. We have all the data. This is one of those beautiful things where we know where these folks live. The more general question, though, is I think the overarching problem, which is we have a major dearth of affordable housing across the county. Right. And yes, it's illegal to do long-term housing in a hotel other than through this program. But anyone who's been on a police ride-along or walked by any hotel or seen the school bus stop at hotels in East St. Peter Township knows that that is not the case. There are people living in hotels all up and down East St. Peter Township throughout the county. So I would say I'm very supportive of what Justin and Jen are doing, because this program is significantly better than what's happening right now illegally. So the illegal homeless population that's operating illegally in hotels right next to Tanger outlets is creating much more of a problem, and that's a problem that frankly we can't fix right now. The more we can have programs like this where we have case management on site, the better we can actually fix these problems in the long term. So long-term solution to me is more programs like this and less of the status quo. And the status quo right now is just letting it happen and turning a blind eye and sort of hoping that it will go away. It's not going to go away. It's only going to get worse. So I think we do need to ramp up our efforts at policing and making enforceable ordinances to help deal with some of the bad actors in our hotel community, and also support programs like this, because it's one thing you can shut it all down, but all those folks still have to go somewhere tomorrow night to shut it down. So proactively having programs like this are excellent, and then also we do need to take a serious look at enforcing and having good ordinances that deal with the nuisance properties.
Absolutely agree. Thank you. Okay. Any other comments from public before I accept the motion? Okay, accept the motion for the resolution to continue disaster emergency declaration for East St. Peter Township related to housing.
Make a motion, we approve the resolution concerning disaster emergency declaration for East St. Peter Township related to housing.
Made by Dave. Second. Second by Ethan. Any other comment from the board? Comments from the public? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Thank you. Okay. Motion passes. Move on to approval of 2021 volunteer fire service activities, which I know this is an annual.
It is. It's an annual item. This list was reviewed by the Emergency Services Committee at their meeting in January. I apologize. I forgot to put it on the agendas the last two meetings. And so ask for you to make it an approval item tonight. This ties into the workers' comp program.
Correct. Yep. Okay. We have the list of approved fire service activities from the volunteer companies.
Any modifications from 2020?
There were not. It's the same list.
Okay. Motion.
I make a motion that we approve the 2021 volunteer fire services activities so that we are able to cover all those activities of volunteers through workers' comp.
Motion made by John.
Second.
Second by Dave. Any other comments from the board? Any comments from the public?
There are none.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, manager's report, Lincoln Highway Branding Gateway Wayfinding Project.
Yeah, just want to report on that. As you know, through the township's Industrial Commercial Development Authority, we're engaged with a consultant to develop a brand for the corridor, prepare gateway features for the corridor and develop a wayfinding program for the corridor. And they've had meetings with the steering committee for the project. Several stakeholder groups have also met, all virtually, and received input that way. And the consultant prepared a number of surveys that were sent out to both, well, to all of the folks on the steering committee, all the folks in the stakeholder groups. And we're making two of them available to the public, and just wanted to make an announcement of that. It is available on the township's website. I have made contact with Tim McKeel at LNP, who has indicated he's preparing an article that'll get published, which will include the links. And so we hope but over the next couple of weeks here, and that project will continue.
Okay, great. Anything else touched?
Not tonight.
Kara, anything?
I have not.
Okay, anything else from board? Anything for the good of the order? Okay, motion to adjourn from Ethan. Second by John. Any other comments from the board? Any comments from the public?
No.
Okay, thank you for a good meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.